So now that this is all, we've got this all smoothed out, I still have this problem spot. And this was caused from cutting our shape and then crimping the back and then smoothing that out. And I'm left with this hole. On the Hobbit bow, we went ahead and we covered it with some leather. Today I'm going to be using some Sculpey. This is a polymer clay. It's made out of PVC. And I'm just going to be filling in this void. So you can see I just take a little bit at a time and kind of just spread it over the area. You just kind of smooth it down. And it adheres pretty well. You can also use different epoxy putties. That'll do the same thing. You could even just fill this in with hot glue or hot melt. That'll work just as well. But I like to do this. Just cover it up. I usually just cover up the really big stuff. And I usually let this kind of show through. So once you've got that smoothed down, you need to actually heat this up to cure it. You can use a heat gun for that. You just take your heat gun, and then you just heat it up. Alright, and now I'm just going to dunk it in some water to cool it off. And there we go. I just want to go ahead, sand that down until it's smooth, and that's pretty much done. So I've already gone and done that to this side. You can see I've got this patched up. So once I get done sanding, this is going to look pretty good. And then next thing we're going to do is put a little bit of Sculpey on the handle just to build it up a little bit. You know, the handle's a little narrow, so I'm just going to make it a little more bulbous. Give it a little bit of a palm swell, so it's a little more comfortable to hold. But other than that, this bow is good to go. You could just finish it as is, start painting it. But I'm just going to shape the handle a little bit, make it look a little nicer, it'll feel a little nicer. So, there we go. I've gone ahead and I've also covered the bow's handle in epoxy sculpt. This is one of my favorite shapes for self bows, especially ones that don't have a shelf. It's a nice shape. It allows your hand to index and you have a good reference as to where you're shooting, so it helps you build consistency that way. This is one of my favorite styles of handle for self bows. There's a couple other types that I also like, but PVC naturally is one of the types that I like. You know, nice and thin, narrow, very tall. But this is also a nice one, and I think it'll be a nice touch for this particular bow. So this was done with Sculpey. It's really simple. Once you get some on here, you can just sort of move it around and shape it like I'm doing. Now the only downside to Sculpey is that even when fully cured, when you use the same spray paint that we're using on the PVC, the surface will always remain a little tacky. So it's not so bad on really small areas like up here. It actually won't feel tacky because there's just not much here. But for something large like this handle, it will be tacky. And so if you plan on not covering this with something, I'm going to be wrapping this in leather. If you're not going to cover this with anything, then you might want to use some sort of epoxy putty or even Instamorph or something similar to that. You can also build the handle up using leather, so that's an option as well. Alright, so I'm pretty happy with the shape of this handle. So I'm going to go ahead and cure it. And I'm just going to be using the heat gun on a high setting. Now what's going to happen is that the outside is going to harden, the inside is going to stay a little bit soft, and it will stay soft indefinitely. Now if you don't fully cure the clay, you can have large cracks, which is another reason why I like to wrap it. So, here we go. Oh, another thing, this gives off some kind of nasty stuff. So if you're going to use the heat gun, make sure you're in a well-ventilated environment. That window's closed, but that door is open. And, well, that door and that door and that door over there are all open. And just, use common sense. So, here we go. Alright, we got the base coat done. Here it is. Now I'm going to go ahead and put my actual paint color on here. I'm going to go for sort of a dark red, so I'm going to put some red on here and then I'm going to finish it up with some shoe polish. So I'll show you that when it's done and it's all dry. Here's a close-up of the handle, just so you can see. And then you can see the tip here. Oh, that came out. So, here we go. Here's the bow with the final coat of paint. Went ahead, painted it red. Now I'm going to go ahead and apply shoe polish. You can see I've actually gone ahead and sanded the paint lightly just so I get a nice pattern. It'll show up really nice as sort of a wood grain effect once I put the shoe polish on. So I'm going to go ahead and put the shoe polish on, clear coat it, and then we'll finish the bow. Here we go.